All right, Chris Ryan, 1993 movies. It was a wonderful year to be a movie fan.
My God.
Just unbelievable. I was living in Boston that year, as I've mentioned many times. Just in a row, starting June 11th, week by week, we got Jurassic Park, Last Action Hero, Sleepless in Seattle, The Firm, Rookie of the Year, In the Line of Fire, Free Willy, another stakeout. You're a stakeout guy?
I'm another stakeout guy.
I like both of them. Poetic Justice and Coneheads all the same weekend. Robin Hood Men in Tights. Rising Sun. You're a Rising Sun guy?
I am a Rising Sun guy.
So I Married an Axe Murderer, which we did last week. And then we go into August, and The Fugitive was August 6th. And Searching for Bobby Fischer, August 11th. This is like when they made movies for adults that just were stories that had a beginning, middle, and end. There was no sequel potential except for Jurassic Park. But for the most part, movies were movies. We appreciated them. They had stars in them. They had good directors and good writing. And this is one of these movies.
This is like putting a Ferrari engine inside of a Camry, where you're just like, you could make this movie like shit. You could make this movie as a crappy B movie. You could make this movie as like a schlocky action flick. But instead they go and they get Wolfgang Peterson and John Bailey to shoot it. John Bailey who shot Big Chill and a bunch of Lawrence Kasdan stuff. They get Ennio Morricone to do the music. And then they put Clint in it. And when they're like, okay, who are we going to play against Clint? Who are we going to have be the foil in this movie? They follow this great 90s tradition of like picking these really left field great actors to play the villain. And Malkovich, I think, has a shout at being one of the best in this decade at doing it between this and Con Air.
Yeah, because we have Tommy Lee Jones. We got Lithgow and Cliffhanger. Tommy Lee Jones and Under Siege. Who else? Like Hoppers and Speed. This is the run.
It starts with Alan Rickman in Die Hard, I think.
Yeah.
And Kathy Bates in Misery, you could say, but Rickman especially.
Nicholson and
Hopkins,
Batman.
Ed Harris and The Rock. We're talking about guys who were like in Steppenwolf 10 years ago, and now they're like, I'm a U.S. soldier who's taking Alcatraz hostage.
Right.
I mean, the ideas are ridiculous, but the performances are so amazing. And then, Malkovich comes in, and he's just like the perfect guy to go up against Clint, because everything Clint isn't is what Malkovich is. He's cerebral, he's neurotic, but he's also like a little bit twisted, a little bit psychosexual. And Eastwood is just doing his...
A little bit twisted?
Yeah. Mitch.
What was your Malkovich? What was your first Malkovich movie where you were like, this guy?
Empire of the Sun.
Mine was The Killing Fields.
Yeah.
I thought he was unbelievable in The Killing Fields. And I love The Killing Fields. And for people, it'll be on the Rewatchables maybe for the 40th anniversary, but that's one of my favorite 80s movies.
That's Roland Joffe, right?
That's Sam Waterston, Cambodia. It ends with the Beatles song. Malkovich plays a photographer, and he's not in it that much, but his scenes are really impactful, and you're like, who's that guy?
Yeah.
He's somebody. But then Dangerous Liaisons was the one.
That's his breakout, probably?
Yeah, I saw that in college. We went in a whole group, and we were like, oh my God, Malkovich. Like, is he going to win like 2 Oscars for that? Like, we had no idea. But
I remember, I think we had to do
a
class trip to go see Mice and Men, like at the theater, which he's really good in. But yeah, like Liaisons, I Empire of the Sun, he plays like a U.S. POW in a prisoner of war camp.
Yeah.
And he's like running the U.S. soldiers there, and he's incredible in it.
And then for some reason, starting in the late 90s, he became what Malkovich became, which is like, oh, he's going to play Teddy KGB in Rounders and just have an insane accent. And then he's going to be in Being John Malkovich. And he just, it was a little Christopher Walken-y.
I was going to say
the character of Malkovich became part of the Malkovich experience. I didn't feel that way when I saw In the Line of Fire. I didn't have enough of a history with him yet.
No, I mean, he's so unnerving in this movie because he seems like somebody you would see on a bus or was hanging out at a magazine stand.
He makes some good choices too. Like the scene when he finally yells at Clint.
Oh my God.
And then they hang up and he does like this. He's like, starts like trying to crack his neck. It's like, oh, you're a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
You're like literally crazy. But yeah, he goes for it a few times.
Yeah. And I think that was the whole point, is that this is a movie that's not unlike The Firm, but is not basically all my favorite thrillers, or even if they have action set pieces, the most thrilling scenes are just two people talking.
Yeah,
and this is basically, I think they have 4 phone conversations over the course of this movie. And I believe they shot them like continuously. Like Peterson basically staged them as one big phone conversation that would take place over the different parts of the movie, which is why Malkovich is often dressed the same as in each of the conversations, no matter when they're happening.
But it's the kind of thing they thought you could do before they realized the internet was coming.
Yeah.
And podcasts like this. So we're like, wait,
guys were
the same clothes.
Screenshotting which sweater he's wearing. Yeah. But you know, this movie has like really good bones. It's like I'd be pretty interested in like, ooh, a Secret Service agent who lost Kennedy has to redeem himself by stopping another assassination. Fantastic. I'm in. But when you add this element of psychological depth and electricity from Malkovich, it's just like, damn, this goes into another stratosphere.
We did The Vanishing already on this podcast.
If we did.
But that has the similar cat and mouse game, like where Bridges is telling
Kiefer,
yeah, your obsession is my weapon. It was this weird time of villains also trying to, you know, bond with the guy they're fucking with.
Yeah, McClane and Hans.
Yeah, which eventually led us to Heat.
Clarice and Hannibal. Yeah.
Yeah, Heat.
You think Michael Mann was taking notes? He was just like, I see it. I see the moves.
I think he was more like, this is what I was trying to do in Manhunter, motherfuckers. Yeah. Now you guys are ripping this off.
Yeah.
I feel like he probably thinks he was first. Miami Vice tried to do this in a bunch of different ways. But this whole, I need to solve the crime, but this is not personal, it's business. And we're all human beings there, and you went this way and I went this way, but there is some sort of common ground. Now, Clint doesn't want any of that. Clint's just like, you're a fucking lunatic.
Yeah,
I'm
Frank
taking
is
you
just
down.
like, but
Malkovich is like, we're more alike than you seem. We have the same kind of thing. He's trying to get this real relationship with Clint. Clint's not buying it.
I think that there's a couple of moments in this movie too where their dialogue unintentionally echoes each other. Like Malkovich will be like, I used to think this country stood for something, and earlier in the movie, Clint's like
said the same thing.
Yeah, it's basically, so these are two guys who think that the country is either fallen from grace and betrayed them in the same step.
It is one of those movies that I'm not sure how many people could have pulled off the Malkovich part.
Yeah.
It's a role that could have gone really badly in the wrong hands.
Yes.
Or it could have been like a normal, you know, it's like Tom Hanks. He's going against type playing the bad guy in this.
But isn't that the whole charm of Malkovich as a performer? It's like there's that Matt Damon story about when he showed up on set and first did Teddy KGB and he was just fucking around, but he was like, he was doing the Russian accent and he was just like, I want to give you the money. And everybody's just like, what? And he's just like, I'm screwing around. But like, there's a world in which Mitch is not like, he's too over the top with Mitch, or he underplays it too much. But I think that the dialogue winds up doing a lot of work for him. Cause like the scenes between the two of them on the phone, like if the dialogue's not crackling in those scenes, you're just kind of like, all right, not that dangerous. He's on the phone. But it feels like when he's screaming at Frank, it feels like he might as well be right next to him.
Yeah, I agree. He's like walking for me in that, not just the character became part of the mythology of him, but there's a presence to him that he's not a big dude. You know, he's this kind of bald and weird looking dude who very distinct face. He uses silence in a really interesting way. He seems menacing. He even did this in Dangerous Liaisons. Like, there's a power personality that he pulls off that I can't really describe. And he even does it in Rounders.
Yeah, he's seductive.
He's eating the Oreos and he's staring at it. It feels like there's always like a little bit of a flirting thing going on with whoever he's with. It could be man, it could be woman. But he's always like connecting with them.
Yeah, the Oreo thing. Like, like you said, the neck cracking. There's obviously a scene in this movie that has like an incredible amount of sexual tension in it with Clint Eastwood that came as a surprise to Eastwood. I think that another thing that's cool about him is beyond the way he behaves is just the way he looks. Like, I was seeing a lot of people talking about Killers of the Flower Moon this weekend. Yeah. And they were pointing out how like Scorsese got all these guys with great faces to be in the movie. Like, there's all these like very like unique, real feeling faces,
like some jaws and some
but when you
eyes.
watch like a Marvel movie, like everybody in this could be a model, basically.
So he gets nominated for this, Malkovich.
He does.
And I'm trying to find.
I got it right here, Bill, and it might be one of the best groups in Oscar history. Low key.
Well, there was also other performances that we've talked about that didn't get on there.
So the supporting actor this year, Tommy Lee Jones wins for The Fugitive. Malkovich is nominated. Pete Postlethwaite is nominated for The Name of the Father. He's incredible in that. DiCaprio for Gilbert Grape and Ralph Fiennes for Schindler's.
Wow. Wasn't there another one we just did? There was another performance where we were outraged that it didn't get nominated.
Well, I mean, Hackman's not nominated for The Firm. Like, there's a bunch of things from '93 that.
What was the one Hackman picked Unforgiven instead of the other movie that he was up for? And then that one.
I can't remember.
Yeah, we've just, I feel like we've circled this Oscars over and over again. But yeah, Malkovich gets nominated. I mean, there's so many things to talk about this movie, but the JFK, which at this point, especially after Seinfeld and the Oliver Stone movie, the JFK assassination was kind of peaking.
Yeah, and then this is weirdly 90s. Like a tack back towards like the conservative view of it. It's like because like this movie basically is like all of the stuff that people say armchair experts with their like diagrams of bullets is all bullshit. It was just like this guy shot from the book depository and I could have stopped him.
Yeah. Well, and it was conceivable that this guy could still make a comeback as a Secret Service agent because the assassination wasn't that long before.
Yeah.
Like if they make this movie in 2013, it's like, all right.
No, he'd be 100 years
ridiculous.
Old, yeah.
So it was inspired by Clint Hill, who was the guy that broke down in the 60 Minutes interview 5 years after the assassination and said he felt responsible and could have moved faster and stuff like that. There was that other theory with the assassination where one of the other Secret Service guys actually was the one that accidentally shot Kennedy.
Oh, because it was like grabbing his gun as he's running.
That's a Bill James theory that I always enjoyed. Yeah. There's a good pothole theory. Have you seen the pothole theory?
No.
That there was not a pothole, a sewer, like one of those sewer holes.
Uh-huh.
That there was just enough room to fit like a shooter in the sewer hole, and that's how. Yeah, that's a good one.
Where was the pothole supposed to be? Where was the sewer? But is it where we were?
It's kind of below the grassy
Bill
knoll.
And I went to the Dallas Book Depository. That's why we're at.
Yeah. We'll never run out of theories, and we'll also never know what happened because if Trump wasn't going to tell us,
right?
No president's ever going to tell us. Clint's last run.
That would be kind of awesome if the next president was like super normie, like it was like Buttigieg. And he was just like, guess what? Here's who killed Kennedy.
Well, that could be part of the platform. Like, this is my number one thing I'm working on is I'm going to tell you who killed JFK. So Clint's last run here, Clint hits his 60s. He does Unforgiven, which we've already done, In the Line of Fire, Perfect World, Madison County, and Absolute Power from 92 to 97.
Yeah, and he directs like Bridges of Madison County.
And
and he directs Garden of Good and Evil at some point.
Yeah, and then he becomes older and moves into the $1 Million Baby Gran Torino stage of his career. He's somehow still going. This is the last time it was believable that he could be running next to a limo and foil an assassination. But they do use his age as a plot in the movie, which is something they also did in Unforgiven. And I feel like this was a theme that Clint was really interested in. I am becoming an older movie star. What does this mean for the roles that I played for 20 years here, where I'm always like, I'm either the avenging cop or I'm the cowboy getting revenge or whoever I am. My age was never in it, but now my age is the thing. I'm in my 60s.
Yeah, there are movies with equal measures of ass kicking and regret. So like he can still move, he still has some lateral quickness, but he's
a little out of shape.
He's got guilt. He's thinking twice about some of this stuff. I think very late 50s and early 60s is when these movie stars tend to make the reckoning with their careers. Yeah. Because it's like the Color of Money era for Paul Newman, where it's like, okay, now I can start looking back, but I'm still pretty cool and you could still plausibly believe that I would land a lady at a bar, you know?
The only one who won't do this is Cruise.
No, because Cruise is
like, I'm still
like,
42. I'm 42. Don't Google this. Look at me. My hair's dark as hell.
Yeah.
Everyone else, though, Newman's a good example. I like when actors hit this stage.
Yeah.
I mean, the best one ever was Tommy Lee Jones in No Country for Old Men.
Yes.
Because that's basically, and when I saw that, we talked about when we did the podcast with Hader, but when I saw that movie the first time, I was like, man, what the fuck was up with that last 20 minutes? Right. And now I'm almost 20 years old. I'm like, wow, that movie's one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah, and then the end of that movie is basically talking about those kinds of movies and the violence that fuels those kinds of movies. Yeah.
Yeah. Craig, you'll understand that movie like 20 years from now.
Okay.
Craig's like, why is it Jonah Hill and more stuff?
Come on.
But yeah, his career is so interesting. How long it lasted. I don't even know who the athlete is. It's like a combination of Jack Nicklaus. If Jack Nicklaus had played until his like 60s and still been contending for majors.
So it's almost like that, because there was a couple of years in Green Bay, and I think there were some injuries around there where people were like, Rodgers is probably done, right? Like mid-30s. And he's like, yeah, like I think probably, I mean, I know he rattled off a bunch of MVPs, but there was some is Rodgers done stuff. And then there was like the Renaissance in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And now Rodgers.
Clint had like 4 of those.
I think Rodgers is in his Gran Torino era now.
Yeah.
He's kind of making some comments that.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison for a lot of reasons.
So this is Clint. Like, oh my God, Clint won back-to-back MVPs. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, Unforgiven in this is great.
Yeah, he's just old enough that the Rene Russo thing.
2023.
It's a little bit of a reach.
It's not cool. 1993, it was a reach, but you were like, you know what? These guys, they seem like they have a lot of chemistry.
Well, the big thing is we had such a history with Clint. It was, 30 years of watching him get the girl. So it seemed, even though he's older, it still seemed conceivable that he could get Rene Russo.
I admittedly didn't really go to Clint Eastwood movies for romance either, but yeah, this is actually like a pretty charming.
It was always a hole in the Clint, that the Jeremiah Johnson was probably not Jeremiah Johnson. What was the Western?
Well, High Plains Drifter.
What was the one where he loses somebody he loves?
All of them.
Well, I'm trying to think like the definitive one.
Josie Wales.
Yeah, Josie Wales.
Yeah.
Pale
Rider. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Pale Rider's a good one because they wipe out his family.
That, right.
What's the one where they wipe out his family? I guess that's Unforgiven.
Josie Wales.
No,
he's
Unforgiven. They wipe out his family.
Yes.
I mean, he's made a freaking million movies. But one of his holes was he dated Sandra Locke forever.
Yes.
And he would always put her in his movies. And let's just say she probably needed the work.
Right.
I don't think she was the world's strongest actress, but she was in his movies for 10 years there. And that they were always good parts, but it was always Sandra Locke.
Yeah.
But, he was in, when he did the Every Which
Way
Way Can, Any Which Way But Loose, like that combo. And we've talked about this before, but it's him and an orangutan, and he's driving a truck, and he's just bare knuckle fighting people. There was no plot at all. There was no resolution.
It's fucking amazing the movies they used to make.
It was the best. When they were making a sequel, I remember me and my dad were like, I can't believe they made a sequel to this. We love this movie.
Yeah.
So then he kind of aged into where he is. So it was conceivable with Rene Russo. We got to talk about Rene Russo, though. I mean, she's a Major League in 89, but then rips off in the 90s. She goes Lethal Weapon 3, Free Jack, In the Line of Fire, Outbreak, Get Shorty, Tin Cup, Ransom, Lethal Weapon 4, and Thomas Crown Affair. She's the love interest of Clint Eastwood, Mel Gibson, Kevin Costner, Pierce Brosnan, John Travolta, Dustin Hoffman.
What a run. She's great, man.
She's great.
And she's married to Dan Gilroy. She was in Nightcrawler, and she still shows up in
Do you
stuff.
know her whole story?
Mm-mm.
So she was a famous model in the 70s.
Okay.
Like really hit big, like was one of the biggest models in the world and had a, like a distinct face. She was like unusual for models at that point because they all had like a certain look, but she had like a cool kind of something.
She almost has like an old
off.
Hollywood vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. So it took off and she was like a major model until she hit like, 30. And then in the early 80s started acting and then did Major League. But all of it happened for her super late. I had no idea. I was researching her because I was like, I wonder why her IMDb starts so late. And it was like, she has this incredible modeling career before. So, she's probably the most successful model turned actress of all time.
I remember
it's usually like Lauren Hunt and people like that, but not somebody who's in major movies like this.
I remember seeing her in Major League and just be like, I'm madly in love with this person.
Totally. So Tom Berenger felt the same way. But she just is ripping off hits and great roles and had a real place there for the 90s. And I got to say, I think she has really good chemistry with Clint.
She does.
I totally believe it.
It seems like the best part about it is that her skepticism about him is really believable. Like she's just kind of like, I get that this guy's charming, but he's kind of a dinosaur.
He's a dinosaur chauvinist.
And then they have like one crazy night that they don't actually consummate. And then after the fact, we're supposed to imagine that they're together, obviously. But like, it's nice that they're not like, she's not like, oh my God, this guy's so hot. I can't wait to get with Frank Horrigan.
Yeah. I bet his balls are so saggy.
You're like 2 out of 3 referencing the joints of guys in the last couple of pods.
I have a lot of Rene Russo questions for this movie.
Okay.
She really, I don't know, like, all right, so when she hits a certain age, who took over those roles? I feel like a lot of people tried, but nobody really nailed it. Like this, to me, I was on an airplane watching Fast 10. I was flying back from Boston. It was 6 hours. The DirecTV was going in and out. I'm like, all right, I gotta watch movies. And all the movies. I was texting even Sean about this last week. Like the airplane movie situation has never been worse.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not watching Fast 10. I can't do it. I love that franchise. Fast 9 I couldn't stomach. And I know Fast 10 is worse. I'm just not going to do it. And then I'm looking around for 20 minutes. I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to watch Fast 10. I'm not even happy about it, but I'm just going to watch it. It's my old friends. Maybe it'll be okay. It's abominable. But Brie Larson's in it. And it's one of those performances where the cue cards are like right behind the actor.
But that's
she's
not her
acting
fault.
with.
Like she can't learn lines. I think it's because they're rewriting the movie as they're making it.
Yeah, it's just
like, oh no, you got to say this because we have like another car flying in from Mars.
Vin Diesel just crossed off your dialogue and added this. Listen, this is not a shots at Brie Larson thing, but I really had hope for her as an actress. And this has been 5 years of just her making choices like this. I'm thinking, like, why couldn't she have been Rene Russo for like 7 years here and been in these awesome movies?
I think it's more of an indictment of the fact that they don't even make movies like fucking Thomas Crown Affair anymore, where it's just like somebody could have a good time making a realistic caper. Now it's like you either make a really small indie movie or you make a Marvel movie or a Fast movie, and there's nothing in between. That's the problem. All the movies that we do from 1993, most of the movies we do on Rewatchables are all those movies right in the middle that are like, you know what, this is like a really good genre movie, and it's got a great movie star performances, and it's like...
And it's well written.
It's so durable. It's like, you find something new every time.
So what's Renee Russo doing now? Is she in like freaking Fast 10?
No, she was in like... What do you mean? Like, what would Renee Russo literally be doing now?
Long Shots on Netflix right now is like the #2 movie, and I watched it again this weekend. And I think I really like that movie now.
I do really like that movie.
I didn't love it the first time. I told Craig, I was interested for Craig's take because he loves Rogan. He's like, my generation doesn't acknowledge that movie. Did one of those.
The way you said he loves Rogan, I was like,
well, he loves Seth Rogen. Yeah. But that movie's really good.
Just really into the MMA updates.
Yeah, just for the MMA.
Some of the conspiracy stuff's solid. That movie's really good, and she is unbelievable in it. And it's just like the kind of part, like, I'm like, why aren't there more parts like this? Where she's like,
but that
Charlotte
movie
Field. I know the movie bombed. And I don't really know why it bombed, but I think it's really good. I liked it. Anyway, that was a Rene Russo part.
Yes.
Where it's like Secretary of State. She's really adorable. You just love her. She's got her shit together, but she's so busy. She doesn't have time for anybody. And it's actually realistic that she might fall in love with a schlub.
We should remake Long Shot for the geriatric set, and we just do Clint as the Seth Rogen, like an aging vlogger.
Clint finds Viagra.
Yeah. God.
This movie was directed by Wolfgang Peterson.
I like aging vlogger. There's something there.
Thanks for subscribing, guys. It's Clint Eastwood. Unboxing a pair of Air Force Ones today.
Wolfgang Peterson directed. He went commercial in the 90s, including The Perfect Storm and Air Force One in this movie. But for the most part, pretty interesting IMDb. It's all over the place.
I mean, he was directing in Germany. He was doing a lot of European films. He does Never Ending Story and Das Boot in the mid-'80s.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy's here. And then he just rips off a bunch of really solid thrillers for the rest of the next 10 years. So
great name.
Yeah.
Wolfgang Peterson, just solid name.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on Das Boot?
I like Das Boot. Yeah. It's not my favorite submarine movie. I think you know what is, and I don't know why you keep it from me.
You want to do Submarine Month?
Do you know, like, do you know that Hunt for October is like my white whale? That's the one I really want.
That's it for Submarine Month, or just in general?
In
Are
general,
there enough movies for Submarine Month?
Well, we would have to re-Crimson Tide, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'd do Hunt for October, Das Boot. We'd only need one more.
Cruising 2.
Cruising 2 underwater.
Cruising 2. All right, so this movie, 3 Oscar nominations. Supporting actor. Best original screenplay, Jeff McGuire.
Yeah, a script that had been banging around for a while, which is kind of fun because then you can see all these like different casting and director pairings that they had ideas for.
And then best film editing as well. Yeah, so I do think that this movie led to a lot of White House movies that we had since. And most of them, they're okay. They're like movies that you see on Netflix where it's like you see Jamie Foxx's picture. Would they make 2 White House downs?
They made
the one with
Olympus
Gerard
Has
Butler.
Fallen.
well, all those fallen ones
Yeah.
are like, yeah. There's like a whole franchise of those.
24 had a whole season in the White House.
Mhm.
So, this is before that whole
So
world.
93, when this comes out, you're in Boston. Are you out
I'm
of
in Boston.
Out of college?
I just finished grad school.
Is House in DC yet?
House is in DC.
I want to know if House can speak to why early 90s DC looks so cool in movies. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so, like, The Firm and this,
Little Few
Pelican
Good Men.
Brief, Few Good Men, you're just like, damn, did I fuck up and not live in Georgetown in 1993?
See, I'm going the other way. I feel like they haven't embraced DC enough the last 15 years because there's no better shot than the monument in that whole body of water. And it's one of the most iconic scenes you can throw. I mean, this movie ends with it.
Yeah.
But I just think DC, San Francisco, parts of Boston, like certain cities, when they become the character in the movie, this movie uses, I had this later for What's Age of Best, this movie uses DC really well.
Yeah.
$40 million budget. It made $187 million. It was the 7th biggest 1993 movie. And it had real buzz when it was coming out. It was like, there was a lot of buzz about the summer that we had this, and this is coming, and this is coming. And it was just, it really felt like a special summer. And then it delivered.
So obviously the premise of this podcast is movies that you just go watch again and again. There should be a special classification for movies that you immediately went back and saw in the theater. And Jurassic Park, Fugitive, and In the Line of Fire are all 3 movies that I was like, I'm going back next weekend to go see this. This is so fucking entertaining. And you grab somebody who didn't see it, you're like, you gotta go see Fugitive.
Out of all of them, I think Fugitive was my favorite.
Yeah. I'll go with that.
There's a reason it was one of the first ones we
I think
ever
I've
did.
probably seen Jurassic more, but
There's a reason we might be doing it in Chicago, January, maybe. Fugitive was just so fucking satisfying.
Yeah.
Just the best.
Yeah.
I loved it. But I loved all of these movies. Our guy, Roger Ebert, 3.5. He said, thrillers are as good as their villains. And In the Line of Fire has a great one, a clever, slimy creep. And then just goes through. And he said, In the Line of Fire has a story similar to many of Eastwood's Dirty Harry movies, which is true. I think if you're going to ding this, it does. If you watch the first Dirty Harry, especially, it does feel like that's the crazy version of this movie. But
when Frank is just like mercilessly killing counterfeiters.
Yeah. He said, it's a smart, tense, well-made thriller. Eastwood's best in the genre since Tightrope, 1984. Fucking love that movie.
Way to go, Raj.
Tightrope, good one. You were on Tightrope, right?
Yeah.
That's a weird one. Still don't know what's going on with Clint in that movie. Clint's like exploring the studio space on that. So 3.5 stars.
He's like Lindsey Buckingham and Tusk. He's bagging tissue boxes.
Most rewatchable scene. The boat scene in the beginning.
So good.
Good to see Tobin Bell.
Pop him for me. Show me I'm an asshole.
Do you believe, so Frank knows the weight of a gun.
Yeah.
Do you believe that anyone would know the weight of a gun?
If anyone did, it would be Clint Eastwood.
I saw this magician once.
I'm sure there's a Navy SEAL guy on YouTube who's like, I definitely know the weight of a gun.
Right. Watch this. I saw a magician once do card tricks recently, like 2 months ago. And he could tell by the weight of the cards, like how many cards were left in the deck and stuff like that. He just split them maybe like 27, 19. And I watched it in real time and I was like, all right, this is something. So it makes me think like the bullet. The bullet is possible. You'd hold it, it'd be like, you hold a gun enough times, you're like, all right, that's a tiny bit light. Feels like 2 bullets in there.
Yeah. I believe it. I believe it.
Where do you stand on Tobin Bell?
One of my favorites.
So he's in The Firm, right? As an albino?
He's the guy who shows up with
Wilford?
Dean Norris from
Dean
Breaking
Norris.
Bad,
Yeah.
and shoots Busey. Yeah.
That's a great opening scene. Dylan McDermott with the bag pulled over his head. We'll get to him later.
Yeah.
The next one I have is Clint Meets Everyone, which includes joking about a Super Bowl bet with the boys, and then meeting Lily Raines and saying, secretaries get prettier and prettier. And she says, and the field agents get older and older. And then he's kind of like, oh, I got a live one on my hands.
Yeah.
Let me double down. I just wanted to see if you had a sense of humor. What an era this was. You just be like, old cranky chauvinist guy. And it wasn't be like, Frank, HR wants to see you.
Exactly.
Lily's filed a formal complaint. The movie's now over.
I didn't have this down, but it is amazing to imagine the Twitter threads about Frank.
You can't judge Frank. It was 30 years ago. Just openly hitting on her in a
One
room
of
full of
8.
guys.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I love that they put stuff like this back in there in the 80s and 90s because it was always like, this character's kind of a live wire.
Yeah.
This is how he flirts with his women. Insults them. Would not fly now. This scene is really funny though. I like how she handles it too. Like she's like laughing at him and she's kind of like, oh, this guy.
And then the
all right,
implication is that she calls the paramedics on him to get him back a little bit.
Yeah. I liked it. The second Booth phone call, he knows him as Booth at this point.
Yeah.
The Malkovich character, when they do the JFK recap, I think is really strong.
So that's that's one of my favorite bits of Eastwood acting in this movie is this is the one, there's like 4. This is the one where Malkovich calls and he's like, I think the idea that you would be blamed for going out at night, and that like as if you were in bed at 9 p.m., the president would be alive. And like Eastwood takes this beat and he's just like, maybe they were right. It's really good.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
He's really good in this movie.
That also has the like JFK's favorite poem was I Have a Rendezvous with Death, which is not a very good poem.
Right. Next scene, Malkovich goes to the bank, deposits $50K, and decides to kill the clerk because
she's from Minneapolis.
She realizes that he's full of shit about what Minneapolis high school.
Yeah.
Would you know right away if somebody made up like a Philadelphia or a high school?
No, there's so many like cardinal.
I feel like I'd have no idea. Yeah, no matter where I've lived in life, somebody could say right now, it's
they
right
could
near
be like somebody could be like, I went to Archbishop Bill Simmons. And I was like, oh, is that in Conshohocken? Like, I have no fucking idea. Like,
did he fund that?
Yeah.
The deciding to kill the clerk the moment that he actually decides is
this
just
is a
classic
really good
Malkovich.
idea for you, by the way. Post Ringer is doing
Archbishop Bill
a
Simmons,
charter school called Archbishop Simmons, where you just raise a bunch of kids to be like, you think you're better than me?
It's just people from Massachusetts and basketball teams.
Yeah, you guys just watched The Town.
I texted Chris on Saturday night. I was flying back from Boston, and the TSA pre-check closes at 8 in Boston for some reason. It's like, just everybody in one line. You think you're better than me because you got pre-check?
Russillo had a problem with this too? Didn't Russillo talk about this too?
It's so nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, 8 o'clock cut off. Doesn't matter. Your TSA doesn't matter anymore. I like the clerk in this scene.
Can I ask you one more Boston question?
Yeah.
Have you been tempted at any of Zoe's soccer games if somebody on the opposing team gets injured, turn into the parent going, there goes college soccer?
I've not thought about that yet.
Just an idea.
Might have to do the retown soon. Next one I have is Clint gets ice cream with Lily, calls her window dressing, crosses a few lines, and says crazy things, and then sits on the Lincoln Memorial and it's like, if she looks back, that means she's interested. And then she looks back.
Yeah.
Great stuff all the way around. I don't think men and women interact like this anymore.
I do think that it's a great idea about like window dressing for the president. He's like, everything that we do is to make him look more presidential. Like, nothing could impact that car. Blah, blah,
you think
blah.
we could run next to a limousine? You think if we didn't run next to a limousine, he's safer or less safe? No way.
And the bit about the demographic he represents is white piano playing heterosexuals over the age of 50.
Yeah.
He's like, we're a powerful lobby. And I love when he's like, well, Abe, damn, wish I could have been there for you.
The Den of Thieves Benihana Award, scene stealing location.
Wait, that's it for rewatchable scenes?
No, I'm giving the Lincoln Memorial the way they use it. I think that wins. No, I got like 5 more scenes left. We have bronchitis. Clint melts down and fucks up protecting the president. That's fun.
Yeah.
We have Booth calls Frank again, and he does all we have is the game. I'm on offense, you're on defense. I like when we start really getting into that.
What do you think Booth is like? Malkovich is apparently a huge Expos guy, right?
Is he?
I think he was like a huge baseball fan, but I think it was Expos. It may have been Blue Jays, but I'm not sure.
We have Frank breaks into his house, gets jumped by the CIA, and the guy goes, "There's what we call wet boy." Assassin. Wet boy. We need to work that in more. And then that goes right to Leary killing the 2 hunters with his homemade gun, which I enjoy.
Yeah, why'd you shoot that bird, asshole? Yeah.
So we get the Leary scream when Leary finally gets mad and screams at Clint.
That's it.
And we go right into the big chase scene. I agree. I think this is the most rewatchable.
Yeah, I mean, like you could say if you wanted to cheat, the most rewatchable scene is the phone calls because they feel like one scene.
Yeah.
But this is it. It's
we both used to think this country was a wonderful place.
I don't even remember who I was before they sunk their claws into me.
Yeah.
I say that to my wife all the time about you.
The Swedes. I see you standing over the grave of another dead president.
That's awesome.
Pretty good threat. And then he does the, I'm going to give him the Ruffalo hand and Rubik Partridge overacting award right here, even though it's effective. So you show me some goddamn respect.
Yeah.
Really, maybe dialed it up 20% too much. But we go right to the chase scene. We get Clint running.
Uh-huh.
We get that loser Dylan McDermott. Can't even get up there. Just gets like blown away. Can't wait to talk about him later.
Yeah.
I love roof chases.
This is
I could also put this in What's Age the Best, but has there ever been an action movie where they're like, oh, they're going to run on the roof and there's going to be that one part where the one guy jumps, then the other guy's about to jump?
Did you ever do any rooftop shit when you were a kid?
No.
Okay, so I didn't really, but there was always the kid who was like, I can make that jump. Like if you were up on a kid's roof and he was just like, I can jump that over that alley, and you just like, usually he would be able to do it. I was never there when a kid fell to his death, but it's like, it's fucking crazy what we did for fun back in the 80s and 90s. And the rooftop, I love rooftop chases.
What other rooftops? I should have Googled this.
Untouchables has a great rooftop chase.
Godfather has the walking as he follows.
He's just walking up
the Don, but he's not running.
He's not chasing him. There's a few. I think Vertigo's got a great one, right?
Mission Impossible, I feel like, always has one.
Yeah, he's always fucking running on roofs.
Does Taken 2 have one? I feel like Taken 2 might have one. I like rooftop things. Clint gets saved by Malkovich, who puts Clint's gun in his mouth like he's blowing it.
Yeah.
And it's fucking weird. And
it's great.
And he improvised it. And I can't imagine what Clint thinks.
The movie goes Technicolor when that happens.
It's like, oh my God, what is happening? And then dumbass Dylan McDermott, it's like, I got him! Anyway, that whole scene's great. Then we have Clint figures out who the assassin is, the James Carney and the gun and that ending, and then the elevator scene, the aim high.
Yeah.
That's it. I just want to point out, I love when bad guys break light bulbs.
Oh, and they shatter all the light bulbs so they can't be seen.
Like, and just
great little bit though with the walkie-talkie to be able to tell Lily to aim high. Yeah.
So we have the same rewatchable scene.
Yes, it's the last phone call. The president is coming home from California in a fucking box, and then into the chase.
So What's Age the Best? Mentioned a couple already. How about Kennedy assassination wall shrines from Psychopaths?
Old school, I'm dangerous wall collage. First one. You and me, man. We're fucking right here.
Do they do those anymore? They still do assassination wall collages?
And I think Homeland kind of killed it. I think Homeland was like so crazy that
when Claire Danes went nuts.
And then it was like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme of like he's making the collage and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's the best. I love bad guys who are like, what I'm going to do is collage.
I have one of those for Matt Canada in my condo.
Is it in the shape of a maple leaf? Just like
off tackle run.
Yeah.
I love wall shrines.
Didn't you say on fucking Sunday night, you were like, I think what Matt Canada is doing is he's lulling people to sleep?
Yeah, I told Craig that theory the other day. I genuinely think they have...
The rope-a-dope.
They're like boxers, just trying to rope you in. And then all of a sudden, George Pickens is Jerry Rice for 5 minutes. So you think the internet killed wall shrines?
Yeah.
That's sad. Couldn't you just print stuff out on Google? I guess it's not the same.
But like you wouldn't... I think also maybe... The kind of person who used to make a collage is now writing like manifestos or like has a crazy.
But then
Reddit
we need to
presence.
go back to those because now if you do anything online, like it's traceable. You got to just print that shit out.
Right.
You're off the grid.
Right.
You know, it's like cash now.
This is an interesting place for you to jump in.
Well, so now would Malkovich's character, Leary, would he be on Reddit conspiracy? Like,
No, he would be on some like
Frank?
deep 4chan type, like I mean, I don't know. Maybe he was a man of action. He didn't feel the need to connect to other people, but he obviously feels the need to connect to Frank. But I just don't think collages are big for these guys.
He was initially excited about doing this whole presidential thing, but then he found like the Philadelphia 76ers Reddit.
Yeah.
Just dove in the process. It's like, oh my God, we
It's
gave
like-
away Jimmy Butler.
It's not about getting Terrence Mann. It's what we get for Terrence Mann.
Just deep into Philly. So at one point somebody says, face it, Frank, you're too old for this shit. And I just have you're too old for this shit as what's age the best. Either when somebody says that to the character or the character says it to himself. Always good. Always effective for these. 1990s Castle Rock?
Yep. 1990s Castle Rock, D.C. I had, but Castle Rock just cooking. City Slickers, Misery.
Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah, DC, 1990s DC. How about functional alcoholic cops who say stuff like, is it because I'm considered a borderline burnout with questionable social skills? That's our hero of the movie says that. This was the first time that the Secret Service offered its full cooperation in the making of a movie. I'm going to give that what's age the best. Thank you. Thank you, Secret Service. Thanks for thinking of us.
It's weird because it's like the Secret Service cooperating on a movie about their biggest L.
Yeah, right. I didn't think of that.
It would be like you producing a New York Giants documentary.
Right.
It'd be like
Eli Manning. I wrote down horny Clint flirting with Lily when he
what's
says
age the best?
no, when he says it's strange that the only sympathy I get these days is from a would-be assassin or a woman I tend to annoy. I like self-aware chauvinist flirters in the 90s.
Sure.
But in general, horny Clint, which he dove into in Tightrope and did it a couple times, but I think it was this side that was lurking in him that he just kind of let out a couple times for the audience, but it was in there. Tightrope's a really weird movie. I have what's age the best. Tiny assassination binoculars.
Oh,
Those little ones that
little
only
opera
assassins
glasses.
have. They're
Yeah.
like so tiny. I don't know how you see through them. Kudos to Larry. I thought he had a pretty good scheme.
I mean,
really well thought out. $50,000. He gets invited to this fundraiser dinner.
there's no second chapter to it. That's the thing. Is like he's just like, I'm willing to die to do this. I know I'm probably not getting out of that ballroom alive, but I got this wooden gun that I spent a lot of time on, and we're all good.
How about homemade wooden guns? What's age the best or what's age the worst? Does it scare you that
I don't think
they
that
could work that easily?
This generation of political assassins dedicate enough time into the wood shop
To the
get
wooden
that done.
guns?
Yeah.
The last one I have is just that Malkovich outfits and disguises.
Mm-hmm.
I like when our bad guy in a movie is also really good at changing his look.
Yeah.
Having hair.
I love it.
Having a nose.
Gaining a bunch of weight by eating like spaghetti.
Yeah.
He's got like the Michael Phelps like 5,000 calorie diet.
What else do you have for what's age the best?
I thought that on this viewing in particular, like the footage of young Clint mixed into JFK stuff like works really well.
Yeah.
I think probably because in this case there is so much footage of young Clint. They could work it out well.
He's a whole decade in the 60s of he's on TV shows.
But he kind of looks like a Secret Service agent.
Yeah, he does.
You know? And I thought all that stuff really worked well. One of the low-key best scenes is the night before the assassination attempt in Los Angeles when he describes Dallas that day. And he's just like, it's a beautiful morning. You know, like, it's really, really nice little note. But the fading in and having Clint be in it, it's just really, really cool. I fucking love the elevator at the Bonaventure.
Yeah.
And it's still there.
Yeah.
And I like whenever I would drive by it, I used to be like, that's in the line of the fire elevator.
That's true. That's like a historic elevator.
Yeah. And people would be like, who gives a shit? But I'd be like, yeah, it's like, that's fucking Mitch Leary's up in the elevator, you know?
So what are the other great movie elevators then? Silence of the Lambs, wherever that was.
I feel like there's a couple of like
Die Hard?
Is there an elevator in Die Hard?
Was there a Die Hard elevator?
No.
Thing?
He's just at the top of the tower. He doesn't.
I thought the
The elevator in Die Hard, he puts the guy in it and
Yeah.
wraps him up and he says, ho, 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 motherfucker. Now I have a machine gun. Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs is probably the best kind of use of an elevator other than this movie.
Yeah. The other
Dress to Kill, I guess.
Dress to Kill has a good elevator. Yeah. So I had that. I had Sally and Pam's outgoing answering machine at message.
Yeah.
And back when people used to do creative, dramatic, like kind of skits for their answering machine messages, like we're either here or out having fun,
Right.
like
back when people were roommates and left joint answer machine messages.
Did you do that?
I think we did.
Yeah.
I think Jeff and I used to play Halloween music and do that whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. Talk like Dr. Loomis.
And then there's one moment where when Leary is on his way to Wisconsin to test his gun. First of all, I love when assassins make unnecessary trips. Like, just like, I got to go to Denver. I got to go to Wisconsin. It's like, why? But he goes out there and he's dressed just like Hunter S. Thompson. I thought that was a great Malkovich twist. Yeah.
That's a good one. What'd you have for the Big Kahuna Burger Award for best use of food or drink?
They don't eat a lot in this movie. It's mostly Mitch eating
drinking.
food that makes me feel like I should go on a diet.
Spaghetti, the big bite of spaghetti.
Yeah, but it's like spaghetti.
It's like worse use of food or drink. It's almost like Mitch Leary's diet should be its own Rewatchables category. Grossest use of food. Great Shot Gordo Award, most cinematic shot. I had the last shot. You have anything different?
Yeah. When Leary's talking about God and country and he kind of like walks into the shadow of his own apartment.
Yeah.
And like there's like a beam of light at the top of his head, but the rest of his body is kind of in shadow. It's really, really chilling.
The Vincent Chase Award for Are We Sure This Character Was Actually Good at His Job? John Mahoney, like maybe don't bring the old emotionally scarred JFK assassination Secret Service guy back on a main duty.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the Bills are like, hey, we got a field goal kicker. It's Scott Norwood. One more chance.
So imagine this would be basically for me if I was just like, man, the end of Game of Thrones was great. And I had a complete nosedive. And you bring me back way later and you're like, hey, you know what, Chris, on Prestige TV Pod, why don't you go ahead and recap Peaky Blinders? Like, let's start you off slow. But you wouldn't be like, you're on Guess the Lines on Super Bowl night, which is essentially what John Mahoney does with Clint here.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's like he's basically doing the guy a favor. It's like, it's the fucking president. What are you doing? I could see it with like the number 5 Washington person. The Butch's Girlfriend Award for weak link of the film. Arguably could have been the John Mahoney decision, but I just don't know what's going on with Dylan McDermott's character in this movie. So it's easily the weak link of the film.
My Stephen A. Smith hottest take for this movie is, are we sure a tackling dummy wouldn't have been a better Secret Service agent than Dylan McDermott?
He's just completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
He can't problem solve
Doesn't
at all.
Doesn't even know
He's
how to get
scared.
around in D.C.
Yeah.
He's like, where the fuck am I? Connecticut Avenue, like Florida? Like, I don't know what's going on.
His energy's totally wrong. He keeps handing it off to Najee Harris, first and second down. He's just, I don't know why they made him such a doofus.
Yeah.
So then when he's like, I got him. And it was like, of course he gets shot, but he's just a freaking idiot.
It just doesn't, it seems like what would he best be suited to do as a Secret Service agent? Because it's not discovering counterfeiters. It's certainly not, he doesn't have the sort of spine to work.
The first trait is you have to be fearless to be a Secret Service agent. Yeah. There's a chance you might have to jump in front of a boat.
He's got a lot of
trait
fear.
Number 1.
Yeah.
This guy is completely terrified.
That's awesome. In Dylan McDermott's job interview, he was like, I love spending time with my family and I'm really afraid.
I hope nothing happens.
But you think, I would love to work for the Secret Service, but those are my 2 conditions.
This character's so bad that I actually held it against Dylan McDermott for like a long time.
Yeah.
I was just like, that's the doofus from that In
That's
the Line of Fire.
That's a special kind of character. I mean, in some ways that means it's a great performance because I think about Al a lot. Like in this movie, you're like, Al kind of hovers over
a worst case scenario.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I don't know why they did it that way. What'd you think of Al, Craig?
No, I mean, a pretty big miss.
Yeah,
I agree.
The Matt Canada of Secret Service agents.
An unnecessary miss. There's lots of ways it could have gone too, and I don't know, maybe he could have been too young.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's age the worst? The movie score is pretty bad.
Disagree.
For a great movie, especially in the opening. I just don't like it.
You don't like this Ennio Morricone's
I don't like the
score?
I don't like the opening score. I just didn't think it worked. It felt cheesy.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Morricone. Movie scenes that end on crucial answer machine messages have aged the worst. It's never happening anymore. He's just listening to that on his phone.
I like the idea though that you're talking about the last scene.
Yeah, when him and Rene Russo leave his apartment.
But I almost like the idea that like there's almost it's almost making fun of Leary's self-regard. You know what I mean? Like now this guy's dead, so who cares what he had to say?
We mentioned Clint's sexual harassing. I would say fair to say probably his age the worst. They're still figuring out the HR complaint. The word cockamamie? When was the last time you heard that word?
That's the point.
Clint's trying to get it going, and it wasn't even 93 wasn't working. I had the photoshopping of the old Malkovich pictures. I thought didn't work. Clint's ones look good. Malkovich.
So is that supposed to be him from Killing Fields or anything? Because it really doesn't look very convincing.
Like. Wasn't great. I thought murdering Sally and Pam could have been a little bit better.
Like
they
more
did
graphic?
these like jump cuts of just like 2 broken neck moves. Really hard to break somebody's neck. First of all, wasn't as scary as I wanted it to be.
Pretty useless German Shepherd.
German Shepherd. I feel like that German Shepherd's pulling away and somehow getting off the leash. So Malkovich apparently wanted to also have him kill the dog, and Wolfgang Peterson's like, no, settle down, Johnny. So they didn't do that.
Malkovich is like, no bad ideas in a brainstorm.
Right.
But what if I snap this dog's neck?
The Bonaventure in LA is now the Westin Bonaventure. Still has the elevator, as Chris mentioned. That's what's aged the worst for me because it's just weird to stay in that hotel where it had this huge murder. It's fun to go there, but I don't know if I'd want to stay there.
I can't remember if I don't think I ever stayed there when I first was coming out here.
I'd be freaked out by the elevator. And then last but not least, no Viagra for Clint, age 62. Renee Russo has some needs. 93. You're really rolling the dice.
You and Clint's cock today,
well, you're really rolling the dice if you're Renee Russo. You better hope the sergeant can come to attention. Any other what's age the worst?
Yeah. What guys used to do for small talk before the internet? There's a bunch of scenes in this movie. Like the first time that Clint picks up Al, and Al's like, "Oh, my wife had to leave early for work today. My kid didn't want to go to school." It's like now he would definitely just be like, "Hey, I heard this Andrew Huberman podcast about staring at the sun. You want me to send you a link?"
Right. They needed some sports combo or something. What do you think? They
need to have
Redskins have it again this year? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Dylan McDermott.
Was Joe Gibbs still coaching back then? Yeah.
Ron Burgundy Flute Award, best time for a pee break. What do you have?
This movie's pretty tight. There's a couple of montages.
Put question marks because I felt like I never got bored the whole time.
You could probably go on the first montage of the president's whistle stop tour across America. And it's basically like Leary going around and he's like opening up bank accounts and stuff, but like after he's killed Pam.
Kind of liked all the Leary scenes. I don't really have an answer for that. Was there a better title for this movie? I think it could have been called Line of Fire. And I think we're fine.
Okay. I don't know if that's a better title, but I'll allow it as like an alternative.
In the Line of Fire or Line of Fire?
In the Line of Fire is better.
Line of Fire just... Then we're close to Man on Fire. Best quote. You can always tell a man by his eyes. Feel free to put that in your senior yearbook, Craig. Oh, wait, you graduated. Can always tell a man by his eyes. Not untrue. All right, so Stephen A.
Wait a second. You have a rendezvous with my ass, motherfucker, is the best quote.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Stephen A. Smith had his take award. You already did yours. Renee Russo, most entertaining actress of the 90s.
More than Julia Roberts?
Yeah. Not even close, actually. Not even close.
Wait a second.
Not close. Not close.
Okay.
I'm going to read you the list again.
I
Major
remember.
Leagues 89. No. Lethal Weapon 3, Free Jack, In the Line of Fire, Outbreak, Get Shorty, Tin Cup, Ransom, Lethal Weapon 4, Thomas Crown Affair. It's 9 fucking movies that are all incredibly entertaining and rewatchable movies. I even defend Free Jack. Julia, no. Julia had like 3. Julia had
Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman was 89 or 90?
Pretty Woman is...
I thought it was 89.
90.
Okay, 90, Pretty Woman, Flatliners,
Uh-huh.
My Best Friend's Wedding,
Uh-huh.
Notting Hill.
I'm looking up Julia Roberts'
She doesn't have 9. Tell you that much. If you're a desert island, it could be like, I'll take all the 90s Julia Roberts
All right,
library.
Bill, just settle down here. Pretty Woman, Flatliner, Sleeping with the Enemy, Player, Pelican Brief.
That's solid. It's 5.
My Best Friend's Wedding.
6.
Conspiracy Theory.
That movie sucked.
Notting Hill, Runaway Bride, and then it ends with Aaron Brockovich in 2000.
I rest my case. Renee Russo, baby. It's a winner. If I was giving you, all right, you take these DVDs. Here's Door A, Russo, Door B, Roberts. You're taking Russo. You are. You're taking Julia Roberts?
I can't tell if you're doing Stephen A. Smith or if you really think this.
Should I do Mad Dog? You're taking Renee Russo every time, Chris Ryan.
I got a gummy. I got $20,000 on the Buffs, and I got Renee Russo for the entire 90s.
It's gotta be Renee Russo. I can't believe this. It's definitely 100% Renee Russo, and she doesn't get enough credit. Bullock's in there.
Okay.
Do Bullock. Do the Bullock 90s. Because you got Love Potion number 9. You have The Vanishing. You have Speed. You have While You Were Sleeping.
Bullock, 90s. Love Potion number 9, The Vanishing, Thing Called Love, Demolition Man, Speed, While You Were Sleeping, The Net.
Oh my God.
A Time to Kill, Speed 2.
Oh, what a run.
Practical Magic, Forces of Nature. So yeah, maybe
that's it. It's close.
Tails off a little bit in the 90s.
She was right there with Russo. That's what makes the Russo finishes with Thomas Crown Affair, which is a great movie. Amanda Dobbins' favorite movie. That's one where if we did Thomas Crown Affair and Amanda wasn't on the Rewatchables.
Yeah, there's a couple.
The resignation comes the next day.
For me, it's Hunt for October. For Juliet, it's Almost Famous. For Amanda, it's Thomas Crown.
Yeah.
What do you think it's Fantasies?
I think we've done all the fantasy ones.
So
he's just ready to leave.
Yeah.
The casting what ifs. Dustin Hoffman was originally supposed to play Frank with Michael Apted directing.
So this script was bouncing around, I think, from 87.
5'6" secret agent.
See, there is something here though. So one of the things
with Hoffman.
No, okay. Here's what I would love to have seen.
Yeah.
Among other people linked with playing Frank was Hoffman, Redford, Hackman, Tommy Lee Jones, Sean Connery. You go Redford is Frank and Hoffman is Mitch.
Oh, like a reunion.
Yeah, little All the President's Men reunion.
That's not bad.
Hoffman I think Dustin would have been a good Mitch.
He never really played a character like. Did he play a crazy character? Not really.
Not
right?
a
just
villain
Carl
like
Bernstein.
That, yeah.
Apparently, Eastwood, once he locked in, they offered the role of Larry to De Niro, but he was doing a Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
So De Niro basically would have done the This Boy's Life Cape Fear character. I'm kind of glad
I'm saving it all for the fan.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna be able to ump in a rainstorm in a World Series. And then allegedly Glenn Close and Sharon Stone turned down the role of Lily.
The other two people who were up for or talked about for Leary and Booth were Ed Harris and Willem Dafoe, both of whom I think would have done a great job too, but nobody would have done what Malkovich did. And then I liked Bill Pullman or William Baldwin as Al.
Bill Pullman as Al, I like that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's solid. Best That Guy Award. So we have some graduates from the Best That Guy group. These were former That Guys who then became who they are. Fred Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
He was a That Guy forever. Now he's Fred Thompson. Tobin Bell. Gary Cole.
Yeah, he's
at some point he became
Gary Cole. I don't think
Cole.
he's a That Guy, yeah.
But
Gary
he was
Cole.
a That Guy for a while.
In 93 he was a That Guy for sure.
John Mahoney was a That Guy for a while. And then became John Mahoney. I think in Say Anything. But for years before Say Anything, he was a That Guy. So Brian Libby is not, he's Brian Libby to me, but I think he's the That Guy to most people. He was the killer in Silent Rage. He's in Shawshank. He's one of the group.
Okay.
In Shawshank. He's in this movie. He's been in a million things.
He's the guy who's like, oh shit, we can't tell him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And then Josh Molina became Josh Molina.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Clyde Kusatsu and Steve Hittner, who are the guys who run the traces on Leary's calls, are That Guys.
So I have Clyde, who has 313 IMDb credits. He's the Asian guy at Mahoney's crew.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many things I've seen him in, and I had no idea what his name was until I looked it up.
And then the other one I have is briefly at one of the like meetings that they're having in the Secret Service, Anthony Peck, who's one of the cops in Die Hard with a Vengeance, who's riding around with McClane all day, and he's That Guy. I
have Kenny Bania from Seinfeld. He's in this. I don't know what that guy's name is.
Is he one of the hunters?
He's like he's working for the FBI or the CIA. He has like one quick scene. So Clyde and Kenny were my runner-ups. And the winner is there's a wheelchair gun expert, the guy they bring in, the guy in the wheelchair.
Amazing. That guy is amazing.
That was Professor Finley from 90210.
No way.
Pivotal 90210 arc. This Craig, cult professor on 90210, who was like a sociology professor, but he was really like secretly a cult, pulls in Kelly Taylor. And it's like this 5-episode arc, and the guy's like basically ruining the college. Great stuff. I don't know what that guy's name is. I just know him as Professor Finley.
Yeah, well, his character in this movie is one of my favorite things, where he's just like, Mitch bought me this wheelchair, and I bought this Glock.
Right. And then we never see him again. Deion Waiters Award. He's up there. I like the Suspicious Bank Clerk. Fred Thompson. Tobin Bell just for one scene.
Yeah.
Who else do you have?
I have Railsback, this Coppinger, the
Railsback coming in.
I'm getting my identification, okay? And he was
call
in the
him a wet
Stuntman.
one.
He was in the Stuntman, yeah.
Well, he also played Manson. He was the best Manson we've ever had.
Well, that's a
way back when.
Brave shout.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go Railsback.
Like
John Hurd's pretty good as the guy who's like, oh, you should go talk to this guy in Arizona. He knows everybody.
Felt like a waste of John Hurd.
Yeah. I wonder if there was some more Hurd.
I wanted to see him like playing handball with Josh Baskin. A couple more scenes of that. Recasting couch. So Jim Curley is the president, and the president's like not really even a character. Why not go fun here? I was thinking Robert Ridgely from The Colonel from Boogie Nights. Just somebody I know who's like, oh, or Philip Baker Hall. Like somebody.
You don't ever want to do modern day recasting couch.
Oh. Well, for 30 years ago, would you have rather done Dermot Mulroney or Dylan McDermott for that part? Is it better with Dermot Mulroney? Could you just switch Dermot Mulroney and
I think Dylan McDermott is good at being this kind of
he's
knock-kneed guy.
It's a bad match of actor and character. So if you're doing it now, who would you have?
This is the last Denzel action movie.
Oh
he's 68 in real life.
Yeah.
He could play 63 convincingly. He's already got all the tools, all the skills.
The problem is we can't even make this movie now because the JFK, whatever.
Yeah, but you could do like
alive.
A fictional, like,
set it in.
Yeah, why Denzel gets like disgraced, who knows? But then I was trying to think of who could be Mitch, and I was like, maybe Gyllenhaal. You know, Gyllenhaal is like this assassin chasing down the president.
So evil Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Would you go Gosling?
I don't know if he's like electrifying enough. He's got to like really blow up, you know? We could do one last run around the block for Denzel and Russell Crowe together. I think Russell Crowe moves a little too slowly.
He's in shape. Yeah. Brie Larson? Just get her a good role. Is that new Apple show good?
No. Sorry.
What am I going to do with all my Brie Larson stock? I have like fucking amazing amounts of it.
Has it vested?
I have Brie Larson stock and Spotify stock. Yeah, Denzel's a good one for this. He doesn't acknowledge his age in quite the same way that Clint did, though.
Yeah,
Denzel was always like defying his age.
It would be cool if he did a part like this where he kind of was like, I'm just going to have like a sense of humor and kind of make fun of myself a little bit, be vulnerable, you know?
Half-assed internet research. The scenes in the White House were filmed on an existing set, but Air Force One, they had to build it from scratch at a cost of $250,000. What happens to those sets after they're done? They just like dismantle them?
So they don't recycle them ever? They're not like, oh,
I don't
that's
know.
the Air Force
should,
One
like,
that we
sell
got.
them. So the president's re-election campaign, they had to digitally alter footage from the Bush and Clinton campaigns from that year.
Mm-hmm.
There was like, they had enough technology now to be able to digitalize some of this stuff or redigital. Same thing with the Clint Eastwood stuff. So Clinton praised this movie and was really into it. And then they had a whole debate about whether they should use that in the marketing of the movie, that the
like
president
Bill Clinton
liked
being
it.
like 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I loved it. They decided not to. I love this one. Malkovich lived in seclusion for over a month. He didn't leave his house, wouldn't talk on the phone, wouldn't watch television, and wanted to connect with Mitch Leary's sense of isolation. I love when actors do this.
But apparently when he was on the set, he was like a real pro and was just like bullshitting with guys.
Cost $4 million to do all the digital stuff in this movie. The original trailer of this movie I couldn't find it online, but it starts with November 22nd, 1963 on large letters. And then Leary's talking about killing the president. And the clock ticks in the background and it changes from 63 to 93. And then it cuts to Clint. And after the guys talk about he's going to kill the president, Clint goes, "That's not going to happen." And everyone in the audience laughed and they had to redo the trailer.
Oh,
they just
really?
mangled it. Yeah, it was bad. And then there was a whole Columbia Castle Rock debate about this movie that ended up like Castle Rock leaving Columbia.
Oh, okay.
They were fighting about who deserved more credit, who did enough work, and they cut ties the following year. Apex Mountain. Clint, obviously not. Malkovich? Is this his most famous performance?
Do you think this or Rounders is the most famous?
But Rounders wasn't successful when it came out, you know?
In the years since, it's kind of gone on to like kind of grow a lot.
So I was thinking it being John Malkovich is actually his Apex Mountain.
You're probably right.
Where he's in the title of a movie.
Yeah.
Done by a really well-respected director. That's got to be his Apex Mountain.
Yeah.
Plus Rounders was starting to gain steam at that point. This movie was rewatchable the entire 90s. It was on all the time. Dangerous Liaisons. They remade in Cruel Intentions. So Russo, no. Probably Tin Cup for her.
Yeah.
Another one. We haven't done Tin Cup yet. She's unbelievable in that movie. Absolutely love her.
Really good Don Johnson. Great
job by her. She's in our favorite Two for the Money, too.
That's right. I'm gambling again. That's right. She's Al Pacino's girlfriend in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not one of her better roles.
No.
Tobin Bell, no. Roof Chases. Pretty good roof chase.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
I'd like to open that up to the people. Maybe put in Chris's Twitter replies if there's a better roof chase. I feel like we're missing one.
Born Supremacy.
Oh.
Skyfall. Matrix. But I don't know. I'd put this one up against it. Because this one has so much drama to it when he puts the gun in his mouth.
Yeah. Assassination movies?
I think JFK probably takes it.
Yeah, I agree. Wolfgang Peterson? Probably Das Boot 2.
Das Boot, the sequel?
The sequel, yeah. $300 million. Weston Bonaventure, no question.
Yeah.
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 The era of adult thrillers?
Yeah, I think
it's somewhere in the 90s
I think
here.
Supercharged
92 to 94.
genre movies
this is
like this. It's like The Firm and this and
modern
Fugitive.
adult thrillers.
Yeah.
93 movies. Washington D.C. is a movie location, no.
Because what you think All the President's Men is?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's like around 3 Days of the Condor too. So it's like the 70s paranoid thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pickin' Nits.
Oh my God.
A cynical, loveless, legitimately owed alcoholic requests to be assigned to protect the current president. And they're like, sure thing.
They're not even like, we got to run it up the flagpole.
Yeah.
They're just like, all right.
Hold on. Can you take a fitness test first? Nope. They're like, sure thing. Back right tomorrow.
If I just go up to Rob Thompson right now and I'm like, I really want to pitch in Game 7.
I've been dying to do it.
All right.
I hesitate every time with these movies to do this because I know part of losing yourself in a movie is you don't try to think about stuff like this. But Renee Russo's married in this movie. There's no way she's single.
Right.
And she's like, man, if only I could find true love. Oh, here's Frank, the fucking alcoholic with demons. He's 20 years older than me. This is
I don't
my
know that
guy.
he's supposed to be like a raging alcoholic. I think he just went out the night before Kennedy got killed. And it was the 60s, man.
She's married with 2 kids.
Okay.
People are locking her down. And maybe she's divorced because she picked the wrong one, but she's still got some sort of family.
Right.
Clint gets fired after fucking up the president's speech, and they have to pull him into the back of the thing. At that point, he's just out. I think after that, it was like, oh man, that was so embarrassing when we had to jump in front of the president, but nothing. It was just a couple of balloons popping. I feel like he's pulled out of this whole thing. He's out of the entire infrastructure, never to be seen again. That's about as bad of a mistake as you can make as a Secret Service agent.
If you pull at the thread too much about the Secret Service decision-making thing, it really gets
Falls
at your
apart fast.
confidence in the Secret
Yeah,
Service.
but this is like 9 times watching this movie. We're like, wait a second.
Yeah, but
That's
there's
why we
like
do
a
the
whole thing
Rewatchables.
where like every meeting is basically Clinton being like, this is a credible threat against the president's life. And they're like, just get this guy away from me. I don't want to hear about it. The president's got to go to Denver.
Yeah. Leary, the assassination is foiled. He shoots Clint instead of the president. They hustle the president out. Leary's immediately shot to death.
Yeah.
In real life.
He's only got one other bullet.
If he's not shot to death, 10 people are jumping on him. Somehow he's able to pull Frank, who has a bulletproof vest with a bullet in it, and he's able to pull him over to the elevator in the main lobby and then press floor 24. Like, what happened?
I guess you could say
Nobody
the
tackled him?
confusion of like all of the guys who were taking the president out. But yeah.
I mean, we say this in half the movies we do, but why didn't Larry just kill Clint in the elevator? He foiled his thing.
It's the longest victory.
The dance is done.
It's
He's got to do his whole, just fucking shoot him in the head.
Yeah.
It's done. That'll be your one victory. And then Clint's talking into his thing.
Yeah. Well, and also Leary has
Aim
thought
high.
of everything. And he's just like, the fact that Frank is clearly like not speaking to him, but speaking isn't setting off any alarms. Yeah.
Tough. Any other nitpicks?
Well, I guess this was more common back then before like the glory days of FanDuel. But like to me, if a guy hadn't paid me my $20 from Super Bowl 21 and it was like 1992, I'd be like, yo, man.
Yo, Tommy.
You owe me $20, Tommy.
Yeah. Where is it?
Adjusted for inflation, that's probably like $40-$50 right there. Like, come on.
Also, that guy has a real job with real responsibility. Like, you don't really want to be the bet welcher. It's like the 4th highest guy in the government.
And so the idea is that doesn't they say that Clint bet the spread and the Giants covered? Isn't that like the whole thing?
It's Giants Bills, it seems like.
No, it was Giants Broncos. It was Giants Broncos. And the Giants were like 10-point favorites or like 9-point
Giants
favorites.
covered in that.
I also think a nitpick is just 2 years after JFK comes out, Clint Eastwood's character just being like, it's just Oswald, good old fashioned shooting from a 6th floor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
They're just like very credulous about like the Warren report. You know?
We'll never know.
I have a picky nit.
Yeah.
So just like anybody could scramble calls and the U.S. government could do nothing about it.
But he's a wet boy. He's got like the tech.
But like this over and over, that like there's just nothing they can do. He's got like a little briefcase with a couple wires in it, and he's just
I think because he
untraceable.
is himself an assassin, he's got some technology that maybe like your normal run-of-the-mill criminal doesn't have. But it's a good point.
They're like on the phone for like 5 minutes, and they're like, nah, he could be anywhere.
But that being said, one of the great tropes in early 90s through late 90s thrillers
like, keep him on the phone.
is you got to keep him on the phone.
Yeah.
He's bouncing it off a satellite in Russia.
Yeah.
Like,
I also don't get why Frank tries to save him at the end when he's hanging off the elevator, and he's like, it's my job.
yeah, it's
Why is
he's
it his
gotta-
job to save the guy
to
who tried
bring
to
him
kill
to
the president?
justice. You know?
Which is, death is not justice.
Well, that's a much longer.
Do you want to post any of these on our Wet Boys Reddit thread or
Yeah,
not?
I'll do that.
Wet Boy.
The Matt Canada wet boy.
My last picking nit is just when the guy in the wheelchair pulls out the heater in front of 2 Secret Service agents. I don't think they're like, whoa, hey, you have a permit for that? I think they'd kill him. Like Frank kills 2 counterfeiters earlier in the movie for like basically the same crime.
Fair. Sequel, prequel, Prestige TV, all black cast, or untouchable.
This is easy.
Prestige would be really solid.
Prestige prequel, Frank in the White House with JFK and Jackie.
Oh.
It's great stuff.
Like The Crown?
Maybe a little chemistry with Jackie. Who knows?
No question. Until he offended her somehow.
Yeah.
Jackie, isn't the first lady supposed to be a good cook? What? Frank, you're off detail. Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins, Danny Trejo, Catherine Hahn, Steve Buscemi, Sam Jackson, Frank Vincent, J.T. Walsh, or Philip Baker Hall?
I am a little bit depleted after Scottish Wayne Jenkins.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I have to say J.T. Walsh.
No,
I was
opting out.
Chris tapped out.
No, it's gonna come back around, but like it was hard to think of one here.
I think this movie needs Sam Jackson. How about this? Sam Jackson is the Dylan McDermott character. Why not? He wasn't Jules in Pulp Fiction yet. Believable casting.
Yeah.
Could have been there, and maybe instead of the fear thing, he's too cocky. He's doing the I know better. I know I've only been on the job a little bit, but I
kind
know
of like
everything.
the guy who plays in Die with a Vengeance.
Yeah.
Zeus. Yeah.
Better movie with Sam Jackson. Gives it a little to Clint. So when they're in the car, they actually have like a fun back
when
and
Clint's
forth.
like giving him a hard time about picking him up. He's like, I'm not your fucking public bus, motherfucker.
And these old motherfuckers always think they can bark out orders.
Yeah.
Just one Oscar, who gets it? Malkovich, right?
Yeah. Did you do probably unanswerable questions?
Doing it right now. Renee, the best model turned actress ever. I'm going to say yes. I think so. I have her over Lauren Hutton, Farrah Fawcett.
Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah.
Famke.
Yeah. Famke's
Andy
good.
McDowell has a shout.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, Andy McDowell's in the running. I still have Renee over her, though. That's good. Does Andy McDowell get credit for also then having a daughter that's also a good actress? I feel like that should matter in the big thing.
She Does Rene Russo have a daughter who's on the come up? No? Okay.
No.
All right.
More unanswerable. Just what happened to the Washington D.C. really good political thrillers?
I know.
Why did we lose these? Is there like some sort of tax thing? It's too expensive to shoot there?
I wonder also, well, first of all, I think that's probably true. It's just like the expense of shooting in DC has probably gotten too much. The last good one was probably House of Cards, honestly. That was probably the last like good DC movie.
I missed those. You have any unanswerables?
Did the evacuation of the fictional president from the ballroom invent the Eagles goal line tush push? Do you think a young Nick Sirianni was watching this? It's like, yeah, what if we just pushed him?
I liked Miami's strategy last night of just being offsides on the tush push. Yeah. There's over the ball.
Can't call it every time. Yeah.
Best double feature choice with this movie.
Sounds like Tightrope.
It could be Tightrope. I was thinking Absolute Power is a fun
That's a really
kind of match with this. I like that movie.
Good call.
You know that movie, Craig?
No.
Eastwood is like a jewel thief, and he's breaking into some Washington heavy hitter's safe, but the guy comes home and then kills his mistress, and he witnesses it. And then he has to go on the run. Really good premise. Movie's like not as good as the premise, but it's good. Laura Linney's his daughter, I think. Laura Linney's another one who could have been in this.
Sure. This is right around Primal Fear, right?
Andy and Red Zawatney Award. What happened the next day? I think Clint and Renee probably go about 4 weeks there before she does the let's just be friends.
Yeah, I think they probably do like a trip to San Tropez or something. He ties on a couple of rum and cokes one night.
Yeah.
You know, and makes some inappropriate comments at the bar, and she's just like, I gotta leave.
He's like, look, women can't actually be in the Secret Service.
Right. You guys know that, right?
They start talking about whether we'll ever have a female president. It just goes badly.
Yeah.
What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie? It's got to be the wooden gun, right? How fucking cool is that?
I would personally want it, but yeah, like that would be cool. I was also going to say Mitch's opera glasses, or
the assassination glasses,
or the professor's wheelchair. He's like, see this wheelchair? It costs $1,000.
Right. Coach Finstock Award, best life lesson. Maybe don't give somebody a second chance when the president's involved.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, if you're going to kill the president, maybe don't call the Secret Service 4 times.
Right. Don't tip him off. Yeah. Just how about just killing him?
Yeah, just go about your business.
Yeah, that seems fair. Who won the movie?
Malkovich.
Yeah, I agree. What do you got, Craig?
Great watch, thoroughly enjoyed. I can always tell it's good when I watch out loud and Liz isn't watching, but she can like hear it. And she's always like the more scenes she reacts to when she can only listen to the movie, that's how I can tell it's like really good.
Yeah.
Like she'll hear like, you shouldn't have been from Minneapolis. And she's like, uh-oh. She's like, what's happening now?
I have that sometimes, but it's usually Phoebe will hear it and be like, it's like cruising. And she's like, you're not really doing this on the Rewatchables, are you?
This is going to be on a podcast?
Yeah. No, but this movie has 2 things I love. I love stuff that's like rooted in real history. I feel like movies now, everybody's like faceless and nameless. It's like Top Gun villain now.
Yeah.
Where it's like, nothing is rooted in reality. So I really like the historical aspect of all this. And I like big stars playing terrible people, which is another thing I feel like I don't see a lot of lately.
That's true. It's like the playing the villain, it's like, it's really difficult. It's like,
it was hip for a long time, and now it feels like
unhip.
It's
like up through the Batman movies, I think it was pretty big, and now most of the villains we get are like aliens. It's like Thanos and stuff.
This
So
movie
it's
also really hits the ground running, which I appreciate. It has all the makings of a movie that would like open with like 7 minutes of just like shots of DC with title cards.
Yeah.
Doesn't do that.
No, it goes right into
Just
the boat.
goes right in.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
So you're not surprised this movie was the 7th highest grossing movie of 1993?
No, that feels right.
Can't you see yourself going like once and then being like, you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing In the Line of
Sure.
Fire again at the theater.
However, I will say in 2023, my 29-year-old overstimulated brain, I just need Clint on like 1.5x. Clint is like physically too slow for me, like at speaking.
Yeah.
Like if you just replaced Clint with a different actor and it's the exact same lines, the movie's probably 15 minutes shorter.
You know, it's an interesting point because we're so used to Clint. He does go at his own pace.
Yes.
He does use all 40 seconds of the shot clock.
He really does.
I mean, the
Like
play clock.
you need a fidget spinner to get through Clint's lines. You know, you really need
but
something.
not Malkovich though. Malkovich, yeah.
No, because he's like so charismatic and he's really dining on it. Clint is just like deadpan reading lines, but really
He's
slowly.
like, I'm eating an ice cream cone sitting on the steps.
The funny thing is, this is about as lively as Clint is in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like usually he dials it way
Definitely
down.
in the 90s. Yeah.
He's just every movie I see Clint in, he seems 5 years too old. I'm like, it's too old.
Well, if you want to watch this movie, audience, it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Ever since your revelation that some people listen to the podcast without having seen the movie. It kind of blew my brain. I never considered that.
Yeah.
I just thought people would watch the movie.
I think a lot of
people.
People also enjoy watching the movie before we do the podcast, but you like to keep it a little bit more of a surprise.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Then people could kind of guess what our categories were and our thoughts were.
Yeah.
And then I just feel like I'm an AI robot hosting the podcast. I bet he says for what's age the best, ... I don't want to be AI Bill Simmons. I like being Bill Simmons.
You bet
You're going to be
unpredictable.
AI Bill Simmons soon, I feel like.
Nobody would have predicted you would have talked about Clint Eastwood's private parts this much or tightrope.
AI
would
have never done that. Yeah.
I've only got one Viagra left. we got to leave St. Bart's early. Clint, let's just be friends.